Hi, I'm Roberta Peixoto and I'm a permanent makeup artist. In this video, I'll present to you a very interesting case. This dear client has alopecia and had a dream of having his eyebrows back to what it was like when he was younger. He even brought me his graduation picture so I could try to create something similar to what he had before. As it is, in most cases, male eyebrows are thicker and have more volume. That's why I've decided to perform the Brushy Brows technique, which is nothing more than a combination of two techniques: realistic brows and shadow brows. This composition brings the ideal realism as we get the density through the shadow technique without losing the natural aspect thanks to realistic brows technique. For this particular client, I've blended two techniques to provide a natural aspect, since for men the trend is to have thicker eyebrows. To make sure the result of the procedure would not turn out artificial, the best way was to have these two types of techniques performed together. As you can see, the end result was extremely natural and the customer was so satisfied. Surely, for me, as a permanent makeup artist, this is the best part of my job, the genuine smile on my client's face. I want to point out that the satisfaction after the procedure should not only be one-sided. Let me explain. It has to come from our clients because they are the ones we have to go to provide the best service, but also we should feel fulfilled as well. As artists, the certainty that we are on the right path, performing a safe technique using the best products and equipment is indescribable. Don't you agree? This only gives us more credibility and a sense of professional achievement because there is nothing better than knowing that you have really made a difference in someone's lives and helped restore their self-esteem. When performing any technique, but especially realistic brows, it's very important that we do a color test beforehand to find the right color. Often the pigment is ready to be used. At other times, though, it's necessary to mix more than one pigment to achieve the right coloration. In men and women, regardless if it's case of alopecia or not, it's very important to pay attention to the type of skin, whether it's mixed, oily or dry. The oily ones are always the ones that we need to pay extra attention to as their oiliness is constant. The fixation of the pigments is lower. But no matter what type of skin my client has, I always prioritize the use of essentially organic amiea pigments, as they are more biocompatible with our body, have a higher pigment load, it's easier to implant on skin, and post-healing it has a slight difference in color but without major changes in hue. Because there are particles and smaller molecules, our defense system doesn't see as a threat, making this fixation much easier and with a greater durability. This does not depend on the color, whether it's lighter or darker, but rather because of its organic base. Proportionately, both fixation and durability will last longer than in an inorganic pigment was used. Through Amea's organic pigments, we can achieve a more reliable coloration and have more fixation, not only during the procedure itself, but also after the healing process. This means that the healed area does not have a significant cooling effect to the point of changing the color result. It's very important that the pigment remains the same as the color chosen to be used in the procedure after the healing process is done. Now, let's talk about some advantages you have by using Amea's pigments. Advantage number 1. One of the main advantages of Amea organic pigments is their wide variety of colors. They are great because they respect all the requirements within colorimetry, which are intensity and temperature. Advantage number 2. The other advantage it is consistency, which is ideal for both the realistic brows technique and the shadow technique. It's perfect because it is not so dense and at the same time not so liquid. It's just about the right amount and balance that makes it easier for you to perform both techniques. Let me give you an example. I love its consistency because in the moment I'm creating realistic brows hair strokes, the pigment doesn't spread out or run. It allows me to have a perfect visualization of the skin so I can build the brow architecture. At the same time, when I work with the same pigment for the shadow technique, it also has the ideal density to create the necessary pixels and fluid shading effect. Over time, this organic pigment naturally starts to get a little denser since we open and close the bottle with a certain frequency. But if you find yourself in the need to change its consistency, it's simple. You can dilute with any diluent of your preference with the following proportion: 1 drop of diluent for 3 drops of pigment. With this type of consistency, a little more liquid, we have the right amount to work with more fluid pigments for shadow and pixels technique. Advantage number 3. Another incredible and extremely important advantage is having the peace of mind of knowing that we are dealing with a company that has been on the market for 12 years and its course puts first the health and well-being of all its customers. It's possible to see that in a way every professional involved with the brand is always collaborating and encouraging each other to improve the products for the consumers. It's all about partnership. It's this exchange and cooperation that makes all the difference. All raw materials and products are dermatologically tested with the highest level of quality and safety. This is great because if you think about it, that's how we combine the two main points that provide excellent in the result: safe technique and reliable material. Advantage number 4. Last but not least, Amea's organic pigments are versatile in terms of color options, skin types, and techniques. All are suitable for any type of skin, especially mixed and oily skins, and any techniques. Keep in mind that for oily skin, the use of organic pigments is extremely important precisely because it makes it easier to implant the pigment during the procedure and has a greater fixation even after the healing process is done. Now, when it comes to selecting the technique for each client, I try to assess each case in a personalized way. Honestly, I always perform the blended technique in oily skins, combining the realistic brow technique and shadow technique. I really like using this combination of oily skins because I know that over time the hair strokes will expand. However, for those clients who dream to have eyebrows with realistic strokes but have their own skin as their opponent, I use the shadow technique to increase the density and create a feel of volume but without losing the natural aspect, since I won't be able to leave the hair strokes very close to each other. Without the shadow technique, the client will feel there's missing spots in their eyebrows. So, here comes a very important tip. In addition to the use of organic pigments, when performing the blended technique, perfect for cases of alopecia, purposely make the architecture more spaced out. This way, you can delay the expansion process of the pigment over time, avoiding that the stroke join together to the point of thickening too much and becoming just a smudge. The combination of these two techniques is the perfect set for you to provide the necessary hair strokes and density without leaving any spots on the eyebrow that could make your client be unsatisfied with the result. I have something for you. Amiea has developed a line called Evolution, thought out to consider the 3 characteristics that can be so different in terms of color, fixation, and durability results. I'll explain. Organic pigments, in addition to fixation and durability, being greater if compared to inorganic ones even after the healing process is over, have their coloration just slightly altered, and as a result, color tones more grayish. Inorganic sets and less becoming warmer after healing. So that's when Amiea had an insight. Why not mix these 2 pigments and see what works? Logically speaking, one becomes warmer and the other colder. Through Amea's Evolution line, they develop a combination of these 2 types of pigments, organic and inorganic, to finally have a balanced result, and that's exactly what they achieved. In Europe, this line is widely used. For this particular client, I've used two colors. We always start with the lighter coloration, and in this case, it's the color Espresso. After in specific spots to create a realistic effect through nuances of intensity, I use the color Umbra. Here are the key colors that I find the most versatile, more adaptable for various tones of eyebrows: Lava, Umbra, Dark Chocolate, Amazon, Persian Horse, Velvet, and Sienna. All of them can be used purely or mixed with each other or with more than two colors.